Shots in the Dark contains graphic depictions of events that may not be suitable for all listeners. We encourage all of our listeners to be open-minded and engage in dialogue with us through any of our social media accounts or email.
That's a real nice butt wiggle. Hi, and welcome to Shots in the Dark.
I'm Ty.
I'm Whitney, and we remembered that we have names this time. I'm going to take a nap, and then you can figure it out. I'm going to drink more of this cannonball of coffee.
Well, we did have a talk about if that happened, how I would possibly change my voice to sound more like you.
Yeah, it'd have to be less expressive.
I'd have to suck all of the joy and emotions out of it.
Yeah. Both of us are just really high on coffee right now because neither of us has had enough sleep.
Should we take a shot? Mm-hmm. And then you can give us your trigger warning.
Yeah, so please join us and cheers. Do it with anything in your hand. Cheers us with your sandwich. Just not water because it's bad luck.
Or if you feel so inclined to, real alcohol.
Yeah, but we're also not currently driving anywhere. It's a bit tougher and also really not cool to be drinking while you're driving.
Don't do that. Cheers.
Cheers.
So would you say that the murder you're about to tell me about and give me the trigger warning on is successfully lighthearted, or is that not happening? It's not happening?
No, and I have a bunch of quotes from this person, too. They're not great quotes.
You're making a face. Okay, great.
Yeah. We try to operate our trigger warnings in a way that you can listen to at least part of the story, and we'll give you a heads up before it starts getting really aggressive, because it will. But for right now, just understand that coming up, and I will remind you, trigger warning for addictions, rape, and cannibalism. So I'm going to tell you the story, and I'm also going to save he has two nicknames, but one of which will give everything away a little bit more ridiculously than what I've already given away. But
okay.
Trigger warning. Because why would I do anything besides my wheelhouse, which is poisonings and cannibalism?
And let's not forget the haunted hotels.
Yeah, and ghost cats.
And ghost cats.
Fight me. So Joe Roy Metheny, also known as Tiny because of his over 6 foot and almost 500-pound frame.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's a big boy. If you ever look up images of him, and we'll put them on our Instagram,
bring it to my face.
They pretty much take the most sensationalized pictures.
Is that really him?
That's really him.
What about time is this?
90s.
Okay.
Yeah. Little is known definitively about his childhood, as many of his stories would change, and almost all of them contradicted each other from one interview to the next, especially those interviews given by his mother. Metheny was born into a poor West Virginia household in 1955. His mother, who he claims is dead, because that's the kind of person he is, and I don't think it's because of ill will. He's a yarn spinner. There's a couple quotes that I have that one article contradicts the quote almost immediately, and it's because of the way that he gave interviews.
Gotcha.
So nothing is 100% except for what I read in court documents.
Is it kind of like Timothy Evans?
I don't know. This guy did it. He's a doer. This guy's a doer. His mother, who he claims is dead, had stated that he had grown up in a, quote, pretty good home, and none of the 6 children were placed in other houses, even though he had told his attorney that he was neglected and, quote, shuffled off to foster-like homes by his parents. When he was 6, his father was killed in a car accident, which the whole of the family took really hard, especially since his mother was trying to raise the 6 children all by herself. So she was taking as many jobs as she could and wherever she could to try to support the family.
It's rough.
Yeah, it's rough, but her proud moment on that is that she didn't need to go on welfare and none of the kids got taken away. All of them stayed in the house.
So she kind of sounds like a badass.
She sounds like a badass, but this is coming from an interview by her. I don't doubt it. She does sound like a badass. She really does. But it's the same way, like, you're not going to talk shit about yourself.
Yeah, you're always going to paint yourself in the most positive light.
Especially when you're already trying to redeem yourself for birthing this human.
Yeah. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Metheny would reveal that he had studied physics in the Army, as he was noted to be very intelligent. Not just by himself, he didn't note himself as more intelligent than other people, but a lot of other people, even since his childhood, said that he was very intelligent. He had even claimed to have been in Vietnam, albeit his mother doesn't remember him going overseas, save when he was in Germany, and there's no documentation to corroborate that portion of his story. So it just might be something that he sensationalized because obviously Vietnam was a big deal.
Yeah, can't confirm or deny it.
Yeah. Sometime after he returned from service, he had started living in homeless camps and was self-reported to have acquired a heroin addiction, like a lot of different people during the Vietnam War.
Oh, that's sad.
And would spend most of his paychecks in local bars. His criminal record had started to flourish about this time, but it was stacked with pretty minor crimes like drunken disorderly, assaults, and some barroom fights. During this period of time, he had met his wife and had a son. They had moved to South Baltimore. He had become a trucker and obviously was gone quite a bit doing over the road.
Yeah, doing work stuff.
Yeah, but his wife had a reported drug problem. He also did, but it may have been something that he had remedied by this time period. There's not a lot of information on that either.
So, not like a great environment for that kid.
He had come home after a long overtime shift to find out his wife had abandoned him and taken his son, along with many possessions in the house. He kind of panicked and started looking for her in known areas, knowing that she was a drug addict. He was looking for her in crack dens because apparently that was her drug of choice.
Okay.
Under bridges, in other people's homes. About 6 months later, old friends had told him that his, quote, crack-addicted old lady had moved across town with another man and had lost their son after being caught with drugs by the police.
Oh, thank God.
Quote, I found out about 6 months later that she had moved on to the other side of town with some asshole that had her out selling her ass for drugs. He was furious and had taken an axe to a bridge south of the city to find the couple because that's where he heard they were hanging out. He flew into a crazy, crazy rage.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of finding his wife or her purported lover, he found two homeless men who he believed to be associates of his wife and had flown into a rage after they gave no useful information. He murdered them with the axe, chopped their bodies to pieces, panicked after what he saw he had done, threw their weighted bodies into the river to hide the evidence. After that, he allegedly lured two sex workers under the same bridge, drugged them with their drugs of choice, interrogated them, trigger warning, raped them, and then murdered them in the same way. Quote, she acted like she did not know anything, so I beat the hell out of her and raped her ass, then killed her. Unfortunately, for not only these two homeless men, and supposedly these other two females, a fisherman happened to be on the same river at the same time and had seen what he was doing.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. He took up a metal pipe, and the fisherman soon joined the others in the river. Quote, I grabbed a steel pipe and ran down on him and laid his head wide open.
So we're up to 5 murders.
Yep,
right
he
now.
killed 5 in 7 hours. Quote, a very busy night.
Okay, so I'm just getting like Hello Kitty flashbacks because I'm nervous smiling right now. I just don't know how to process these emotions. It's such quick succession.
Yes.
We're barely into the story and the body count is already 5.
Yes, but they weren't actually able to confirm 100% because they weren't able to find any of the body parts. He was arrested for the two homeless men's murders and spent about 1.5 years in jail before being acquitted due to lack of evidence. Some police even believed that he had been deranged and had killed his estranged wife, but there's no proof.
He probably didn't yet, at least not at this point in the story, because that was his whole reason for going out and killing all these people.
Not sure.
But the baby definitely did get taken.
Baby got taken, yeah.
Okay.
After his release, he didn't stop. His crimes escalated, and the mutilation and disposal took a darker turn. In July 1994, he lured Kathy Ann Magaziner, who was 45 at the time, to his trailer. He had started this time, remember I said he was a truck driver?
Yeah.
but he was kind of a pill, and he jumped jobs a lot. He had gotten a job as a forklift driver at a pallet yard, and for whatever reason, at Joe Stein and Sons Pallet Company, he was able to live on their property. The company sat on a lot roughly the size of a city block. It was on a dead end, and it had a locked entrance gate, was completely surrounded by an 8-foot tall chain link and barbed wire fence. It was adjacent to a heavily wooded area. Businesses in its direct area would close at nighttime, and the closest residence was about 2 blocks away. The entire property was littered with thousands of high stacks of pallets, some about 10 or 15 feet tall.
So, Murder City.
Murder City. Yeah. I don't feel like if in the daytime I'd feel comfortable wandering through there.
No, I mean, I would need one of those. What's the lady tiger claw thing that collects DNA? Have you seen that?
No, I'd have
need
nails.
one of those. I'm literally going to be chewing my fingers to the bone. Right?
I'm very sorry. I'm just here to ruin your day one podcast at a time.
Well, I'm going to make yours a lot better later, so you just wait.
Good. She was apparently also a sex worker and was purportedly also addicted to drugs. They allegedly had partially clothed consensual sex before he had strangled her with an electric cord and also his hands, and then robbed her of her purse and clothing. That will matter later.
Okay.
After about 6 months, he had returned to her 2-foot deep shallow grave to unearth her skull. According to him, he had, quote, washed out the maggots and made love to it.
What?
Before placing the skull in a trash box that was eventually taken to Oxford, Pennsylvania.
How did he not get a weird infection from that? Right? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
No, I know. I put that quote in there to make you go, ugh. That was on purpose. I'm sorry. I'm back and forth with why he would do something so gross and express it so readily and then say make love to it. Odd.
It's an interesting choice of words.
Yeah. When a coroner eventually visited the site later, he had mentioned that the body was moved after the burial and the skull, save the mandible, was gone. So there's like the jaw chilling out in this gravesite and her body, but the right femur was moved and obviously the skull was missing.
But the jaw was still there?
Yeah. I mean, it's not attached. If you don't have any tendons, it doesn't stay attached to you. The only reason that it's attached at all is because of the musculature that's underneath your skin.
How exactly did he go about even with the skull?
I mean, 6 months, it wouldn't deteriorate that much.
Is this too gross of a question? But I don't even understand how that would even work.
Okay, well, body farms have told me that your body doesn't decompose that quickly. So if he's brushing the maggots off, more likely than not, there's still flesh attached to the skull in some way, whether or not it's shrunken.
Okay,
this is part of my actual job. So.
I know. I just can't. I can't with it. We need to move on because I don't even know why I asked that because I don't want to know the answer.
Yeah, sorry. He had buried her clothing and purse in an undisclosed and unfound location. No remnants were ever found near the body, nor in any place on the property. Kimberly Spicer, who was 26 at the time, was another sex worker that was lured to his isolated trailer before he raped and strangled her, possibly stabbed her. I've seen conflicting reports. Earlier that night, Spicer had gotten into an argument with her mother, who still keeps her Bible, along with the passages that Kimberly had underlined when she was feeling not so great. She is also reportedly a drug user, and their fight was over her brother who had died earlier that year with a heroin overdose.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not great. Traces of her blood would later be found in his trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Her remains are found buried under a trailer about 10 feet from his trailer, along with another female identified later as Tony Ingracia on the property.
Body count is 8 now?
Body count is possibly 8. Escalation. He met his inevitable undoing when he attempted to rape a friend, 37-year-old Rita Kemper. She had described him as a man that you could, quote, see evil in. Quote, whatever Tiny wanted to do that night, he was gonna do.
Well, girl, then why you be friends with him?
They had built a friendship together based on a mutual appreciation for cocaine.
Okay, well, great.
That's apparently why they're friends. but they had no sexual arrangement ever.